So hello everyone. We are here to tell you a little bit about Nubank's experimentation culture, what problems it helps to solve, and why it is so important to safely deliver an app used by millions of people worldwide. Leticia Nicoli and I are engineers at Nubank Mobile Platform Squad, and today we'll be focusing on the challenges we have, the tools we use, and how we leverage data to support the app evolution. First, talking a little bit about Nubank. Nubank is one of the world's largest digital banking platforms, serving more than 70 million customers across Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia. Nubank leverages technology and innovative business practices to create new financial solutions and is providing access to financial services across all Latin America, always guided by a mission to fight complexity and empower people. We're going to leave some links at the end of this presentation so that you can learn more about Nubank if you like to. So Leticia and I, we are part of the mobile platform squad at Nubank. And the mobile platform takes care not only of CI/CD infrastructure for the Nubank's application, but it also deals with all the other things that are listed here in the slide. So we take care of software engineering tooling, we take care of the core app infrastructure so that engineers from product teams can focus on the job they have at the product app so that we can take care of low level stuff. We also take care of architecture evolution, observability analytics, and governance. And the main topic of this conversation, which is Nubank experimentation culture from the perspective of platform team, is contained within the intersection of those circles. To begin with, I like to introduce the problem as a quick story, and I'm pretty sure that some of you will relate to that story. So Alex is an experienced software engineer, and he's just finished coding and testing the wonderful feature A, along with features B and C coded by Beth and Cindy, fellow engineers that work with Alex in the same team. Though feature A has an extensive unit test coverage, and Alex has even run instrumented tests on many devices using a famous cloud-based app testing solution. As soon as the new app version with those features start to be rolled out to customers, something strange happens. Uh, Feature A has problems running on some iOS versions and also on devices from a specific Android phone maker that together account for roughly 30% of the users that install these new features. B and C seem to be working just fine on all devices. And well, since Alex had never watched this presentation before, all he can do is how these new versions roll out as soon as he can so that he can better understand what's wrong with feature A and that so that he can make the fixes that he must do. And by doing so, he also delayed the releases of both features B and C. So to write down this problem as a few questions, uh, as an engineer is coding new stuff on the app, is evolving and improving the app, how can she be sure that she's not breaking it for a large percentage of the user? And if she finds out that a particular change is breaking the app, how can she turn it off without outright compromising the release? And by using data, how can she verify that a particular change is indeed a good one? Well, at Nubank, we take those problems very seriously. We release 20 internal versions of the app daily, and a new version is released in the stores every single week. Product teams, they count on it to release new features and improvements. The work within those teams considers this schedule, so we have to release a new version no matter what. And at Nubank, we don't have only Alex, Bob, and Cindy working on the code base, but they have more than 2,000 engineers from dozens of different teams, and we get dozens of new features shipped every single week. We can simply halt the rollout of a version if we find a bug on one of those features. We have to make sure that we can turn off the single problematic feature, and we have to do so based on data that shows that it has issues indeed.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, this is a reasons of the future of experimentation. It is so for us at Nubank being a mobile platform team or even a product team. So the main idea of having this culture is to feel and make the people empowered the best experience of our customers. Either they are a feature of a product team or a low-level component that we have a bunch of on the app. So it's really important for us to build this culture where we have this clear to measure the impact of our changes and then in a way that we can like make decisions, data, and have experience for all of our customers that we have at Nubank today. And looking for, I think we can for the next slide. Thank you. So, yeah, why a mobile platform team needs to embrace experimentation culture. So considering our team, we want to learn. So experimentation, it is about entering questions and testing our hypotheses, gathering more data. So it's great, like when we are talking about low components, for example, it is important to learn about the things we are doing. We want to fail positively. It's a hard English word. We want to try things early and a small scale. So we want to make this failure faster and can recover faster as well. And also, of course, we want to deliver better products. So instead of guessing what is working or what is not, we should make some adjustments based on this real data that we are having to be able to deliver our product. And the last but not least, we want to have confidence in our business trajectory. So as the scale and gets more complex, it becomes exponentially harder to understand the impacts and shape these decisions. So as a mobile platform team, or even a product team, embrace this culture is so important. And you might be asking how we tackle the challenge, because it is a lot. For sure, I already shared some challenges that we have here, and we brought some examples that things we do to be more comfortable to our experiments and loading our features. So first, we have here two things that you probably already heard and are using our own company. So first, the feature toggle. So having a way to disable some functionality in a really way, like we are working with mobile, right? So we need always, when we need to do changes on our app, we need to deploy, like release the app again for both iOS and Android. So having a feature toggle can be helpful to enable or disable something on our app, but also having some rollout. So basically, the main idea is to enable a feature flag for a specific group or a percentage of users. So increase or decrease this rollout. So for example, it's coming mobile platform. We are doing some work in a low-level components like foundation of the app, and to just test for our team or for a specific percentage of our we have on the company, so we can easily roll out for this kind of groups. Also, we have the remote config. It is another possibility that you change the behavior without like rushing the app. But it's interesting because I like to say that the remote config is like a feature flag, but instead of having flags, you can have something based on properties. So we have, for example, we can do some remote configurations in enums, integers, complex JSONs. You probably might using the Firebase remote config. Here we have our own solution, but follows the same idea, like enable to do some things like, oh, I want to change the timeout value of the HTTP call, so I can easily do this kind of thing with a remote config, or even complex things like I want to share configurations between such as HTTP, storage, analytics. So we have this flexibility, and when we want to do some remote configurations. Also, we have the cards. That is our platform where people can manage experiments and the rollout. So basically, they can manage the population of the experiment. So they can use filters for such as plat versions, lists, some shards. So we have some control groups, some treatment groups, some outsiders. So the main idea it is to enable that this expert can have a more detailed and a secure way that people can roll out their features, their improvements, and understand how it's the behaviors before goes to the customers that you have today. And all right, so we have we talk a little bit about feature flag, remote config, and cockpit. So it's a lot of things that we can use for do the experimentation thing. We need to some tooling to enable us to follow or stop the experiment. Like we need to have some information to feel more comfortable with the things that we are doing. So one of the things that can be helpful, and it is helpful for us, it is a way to manage crashes that happen on the app. So some automations can allow us to understand if some crash is happening for which is on the app, what is the severity. We have some to have more information with Splunk, Sentry, Prometheus, and a bunch of stuff that we can go deep and understand better the problems that we are facing, and we can like act this. And also, you can go for the next slide. Thank you, Pershio. So yeah, we have also the app health. It is important also to understand the behavior of the customers, not act on the when the crash happened. We need to follow the behaviors and understand what is the meaning of the health of the app. Like what is the metrics? What is the data that can have a company or in my product to understand the feature, if the migration, if the improvement that we made, it is good, and we can follow with this. So having this data-driven decisions with some dashboards that we can collect can be so helpful for us when we are rolling some new stuff on mobile platform team.
And well, just as quality is not something you can add later in a software product, so we think about observability. We consider metrics and events from the very beginning of any feature we start working on, and we use those metrics and events to understand how well a feature is performing and whether it's improving the user experience or not. Before releasing a feature to final users, though, there are several steps to be considered. We say we are proud practitioners of dogfooding on multiple levels. And what do I mean by that? Well, at Nubank, we usually start rolling out a feature that we are working on just for members of our squad. Only after we've tested it internally long enough, we then start to release it to employees of Nubank, which we call Nubankers. I intentionally use this vague term here, long enough, because it really depends on the impact a particular feature is expected to have, how many users are expected to interact with it, how many product teams will use it, etc. And well, we can measure how successful a feature release was by looking at the metrics we defined early on the development process. By looking at the dashboard containing all those metrics, like the one Leticia showed you a while ago, we can understand and learn if it's both safe and desirable to proceed to the next level, which is to release the feature to all customers. And when we do it, we release it to a small percentage of users that is incremented throughout days and even weeks as we check that the data we collected really support this decision. And in any one of those levels, if we notice that something's wrong with a feature being rolled out, or if it doesn't meet the expected criteria, our tools help us to minimize the number of impacted users. In most cases, we can identify problems at the early stage while the feature is still being tested either by us or by new bankers. And so we can halt the rollout, fix whatever we have to fix, and then resume it from where we left. In a worst case scenario where the problem reached the production app, we can use the feature toggles to roll back the app to the state it was before that feature was introduced. Um, Especially when it comes to core changes, we do our best to allow them to be incrementally introduced, as I just told you. Unfortunately, it's not always possible, either because it's too costly to do it or because we don't have the tools that allows us to do it. And sometimes to mitigate this problem that can arise when we can't progressively roll out something, we are extra careful with those changes before they hit the production app, especially in times such as Black Friday or during the World Cup when we expect intense use of the app. Now I'll show you an example of something that we've been doing that's been heavily influenced by this experimentation culture. Nubank is currently on a journey to migrate the app from native technologies, both Android and iOS, to Flutter. Flutter has been chosen as the company-wide mobile development tool back in 2019 and has proven to deliver a greater developer experience when compared to the native technologies we've been using since the early days. This improved dev experience has helped us scale mobile development in the company. There's a link to a blog post that tells in more detail about this journey of ours, so that you can learn more about it. We'll leave the link at the end of this presentation. Product teams, they are migrating the core feature, their feature, sorry, and we from mobile platform, besides providing guidance and tooling, we are migrating the core features, the core infrastructure of the app, replacing core features that were created in the early stage of migration and that rely on bridges to the native implementation with pure Flutter implementations. And for every core feature that we are migrating, we have a four-step process that we try to follow as close as we can. We start by defining the metrics and acceptance criteria of this migration, considering, for example, the performance we expect to achieve. We may do some testing to learn and understand what is the current state of that particular feature. And we then come up with a rollout plan that will guide us through the migration process with checkpoints and the dates in which we plan to release the feature to members of the squad, to new bankers, and finally to our customers. We then create the needed feature toggles, and finally, we start migrating. As we migrate the core infrastructure that provides, for example, access to locally stored entities, remote data fetching, and app initialization, we leverage experimentation to allow us to do it in the safest way possible. We strive to make the new Flutter version of a feature interface compatible with the former native backend versions. In this example here, we have a product feature that depends on an infrastructure feature, but all it knows is the interface to that infra feature. This way, we can define a feature toggle that allows us to transparently roll out a new version of this core infra lib so that the product feature must not be changed. And as a bonus, it's much easier to roll back a change if we discover it's not as good as we thought later on in the process. So that's it. The experimentation culture is definitely part of Nubank engineering culture. It helps us not only to deliver features that users will use and love, but also to silently and safely improve the ones they already know and use. And it helps us also improve the components of the app users may not even be aware that exist, but that form the core of the features of the app. There are some links related to this presentation you might find useful. We're going to share a link you can use to download a copy of this presentation. And well, that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to send us a message here at Mobile DevOps Summit, and feel free to add us over LinkedIn as well. We'll be happy to talk to you all, and thank you very much for your time. Let's see if we have questions.
I saw, I don't know if now audio it's working fine. People can just send on the chat, please. But I saw that some of them have some trouble. Maybe it was my connection. So if something got confused, like you didn't understand because audio, you can send on the chat. We can like repeat again. And my voice,
Yeah, sure.
I'm a little bit sick, so it's not. I think we have one question. I will ask here and feel free to answer. So, what tools do you guys use to manage feature toggles and feature flags? You want to?
I can start. Well, we use a tool, an in-house built tool called Cockpit that Leticia showed in one of the slides. And it's pretty similar to Firebase Remote Config, I believe that's the name of Firebase solution, right? Firebase Remote Config. And well, in that tool we created, we have control over the feature flag value and also the target group of each one so that we can do this release process I told you about. So we start by releasing it only to members of the squad, then new bankers, and finally to our customers. And it provides some analytic tooling. Also, we can see how many users are impacted with this feature toggle that are changing, and we can progressively release to different groups. So to sum everything up, is a tool created by us internally, but it's kind of mimic the way that Firebase Remote Config works.
All right. So I think if you have some other question, feel free to reach Portia and I. And also we have positions at Nubank. You can see on the link. So thanks, folks. Was awesome to be here, and hope you to see all of you again. And so, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. See you soon.